I'm Shwa, and you are listening to Light Up with Shwa, a weekly podcast to open our hearts and minds on a journey with me. Good morning, Jenny Bonham Carter.
Good morning.
Thank you for taking out time, and I'm really excited about our conversation today.
So am I.
For a very brief introduction about yourself.
Yes. I'm Swedish, and I'm a 42-year-old woman. Born and raised in Stockholm.
You don't have to tell your age,
exactly.
but you can.
And I've lived here in America, in Somerville, Boston, for a year and a half approximately. We moved here because of my husband's work in biotech. And we've got 3 kids. They are 10, 8 and 3. And at the moment I've mainly been home with them and get settled here. Otherwise, my profession is a social worker. I'm specialized in human rights, and I'm a part-time musician as well.
Wow. So are you going to be working in your interfaith area or social work area, or are you going to remain as a musician for now?
Well, I would preferably have a mix of everything. Some traditional social work and interfaith work, and put a bit of music in that mix, and out is going to come the perfect job for me.
So, as you said, you have 10-year-old and an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old. Wow. So you are not at all busy, I guess.
That's right. I'm rolling my thumbs all day long.
Yes. So how do you manage your... So let's start with this. When did you consciously decide to become a parent?
Yes, I wanted children. Yeah.
Okay. And was it before marriage or after marriage that you decided that you want to have children?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I guess I have always thought that I would like to have children.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What about your husband? Was he aligned with you, or was it your decision only? Or do you have that control over?
Well, that's a good question again. In fact, it's a bit interesting. So he would often say that he would like to have children when they're older. He would think in a very long perspective, thinking when I'm older and I want to have my children over for Sunday lunch. He wanted a family, but he had never been interested in babies or children.
Okay. Yeah, that's why.
So he wouldn't voluntarily be like excited about that concept, but he. But I kind of made sure to see, was he going to be opposed or not? And he wasn't.
Okay, good. So does that make a difference of the way he thought initially in your parenting overall?
Yeah, I think so. He had hardly held a baby. He wouldn't be. So
your
interested.
Babies or otherwise?
Or other babies, or been very playful with children as such. But I think that he fell right into the role of a good parent.
So he did help you? Did he, participated in your...
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I won't get into did he change diapers?
Oh yeah, no, he did. Even though he comes from quite a traditional family.
Okay.
So I will say that his mother was asking me, how is he coping? And I was provoked by that, because I thought what do you mean? Of course he's coping, And of course we come, so he is from an English background, a bit more traditional, while I think my parents are... In the 70s in Sweden was, equality between men and women was becoming a much bigger topic. And, so if you would not change a nappy, you'd be looked at really, that's something you should be doing as a man as well as a woman.
That's interesting. Do you give choices? I know that your children are 10 and 8 must be, and I don't know about the 3-year-old. Do you give choices to your children, like when they are deciding anything, or do you decide everything for them?
I give them choices when it comes to some things.
Okay.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. As long as they are dressed according to the weather, they can choose for themselves what to wear, for example, or if there are different types of food in the house and I haven't started cooking yet, I might say, do you want pasta or rice?
Okay.
So they can definitely do some choices, while some choices I don't give them because I say, well, this is life. You can't always choose.
Okay. Okay. But because you think that you can choose better for them, or do you think that they don't know what to choose for themselves? Like how do you come to that conclusion?
Well, I think that I can choose better because I am an adult, but I leave the window open to the fact that they might actually know better than me. But I want to be kind of clear about that everything is not a choice. I want them to understand that.
Good. Where did you learn to be a parent, like all these skills that you have?
I think some things are there naturally in all of us, having a common sense about the world and what you need to learn as a child to become adult and cope in life. But I think I've learned a lot. I think that your parents set a huge example, for better or for worse. And so in my case, I think I've learned a lot from them. And well, I'm also a social worker, so I've read a lot of psychology and so on, of course, and worked with children and families.
Right. Anything that you prominently remember from your parents that you do utilize in your parenting, that you really liked, something that they did with you, and you have like, oh, I'm going to do this with my parents. And also you can mention something that you never liked and you avoid doing that with your children.
Yeah. Well, I would say reading together, pottering around, drawing, painting, cutting, gluing. All of this is something I love, and my mom particularly would do that with us. I would say one good aspect was that they never told me and my brother that no, you can't have whatever it is because we can't afford it.
They never said that.
No, they, even though that was the case. Nice. Looking back, I was thinking, my mother was home with us, which was unusual in those years, and my dad was a social worker like myself, and we would always inherit all our clothes and so on. So we weren't poor, but there wasn't lots of money. But I'm very thankful that they said to us, no, you can't have that. It's too expensive, which is not the same thing as saying we can't afford it. And now in the situation, we can afford so much more than for our children than my parents could for me as a child. But I want my children to understand that it's not a human right to go to a restaurant every week or something like this. And no, they cannot have a toy whenever they want to. And they have to save up from their pocket money and so on. And so I am appreciative to my parents for that, actually, and for being thankful people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And I guess thinking of something that they weren't good at, that might be, I can think about my mom being a bit of a martyr sometimes. Martyr, isn't it? And me thinking, I'm not going to be that. But
more
here I am.
You mean more sacrificial?
Yeah, a little bit. Like rather than saying, but being, look what you've done to me, a little bit, being
a
bit victimized, a little bit.
Yeah.
When we would speak up to her or something like this.
Look what you're doing to me.
And rather than maybe just be angry or something like this, but I can see how I might fall into that role anyway.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
Thank you. Do you think every person can be a parent in your social work? And I'm sure you have experience. Do you think why not?
Be a good parent. Anybody almost can be a parent by nature, but I guess we all have the ability to learn, but if you have a tough mental illness, been damaged in many ways, which is going to make your actions, it's going to affect your kids negatively. I guess some people might be so scarred that it will be difficult to be a good parent. But with self-insight and the right help, I want to believe that most people can be a good parent.
Okay, good. I see a positivity strand in you. Good. What did you learn about vulnerability while growing up, if you learned anything? Vulnerability.
Vulnerability?
Yes.
I learned it quite early on due to the church that my parents went to, and me and my brother. There were lots of people with problems there, and the church was heavily involved with social work with people who had been drug addicts, alcoholics. Many people struggling with mental illness, I would say. So at an early age, I was 3 years old only when my parents actually lived in a home for people who were struggling with drug addiction, etc. So, and we had people staying with us a lot, living, for a month or half a year.
Helping them out?
People who needed a place to stay.
Wow. So your parents were very social worker oriented.
Yeah, very much. Yeah. Very much. I guess I learned at quite an early age that there is vulnerability. People, have troubles.
So, so that's one way. And so, how do you manage your vulnerabilities? Are you okay with being vulnerable, or do you try not to show your vulnerability?
With myself?
Yes.
No, well, the social work syndrome is a typical thing. I have definitely tendencies to not wanting to show vulnerability too much, but only in the sense that I feel that I've been lucky, and I don't think that I am so vulnerable because I think life has been very good to me. So I guess that can bring about a bit of a bad conscience if I feel vulnerable, thinking that really this is not so bad in comparison to how it can be. But as a general perspective, or way of handling myself, I also want to be open and be honest with family and friends when I am not sad or down.
Do you think it is also a strength at times to be vulnerable?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't think it is negative in any way, and I think it's that's one of the most important things to show understanding and tolerance towards vulnerability.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, and that's why I want to be able to show it myself, although I might not always be so open.
So do you learn from your children in any form or shape, or do you just tell them?
No, I learn a lot. I learn to appreciate the small things in life, the big things in life, and I think that children comes at an interesting time in life where, as an adult, you might have stopped being fascinated by the small things in life, and then your child all of a sudden it looks for 10 minutes at an ant or a flower. And
then you're wondering, like, why are they doing this? What's important, right?
Yes, and then you learn how to appreciate
these little
things. And now they have come to an old enough age that they are starting to teach me things that they learn in school, etc., etc.
And how do you take it? Like, do you open yourself and...
Oh, I love it.
You love it? Okay.
I love it when they teach me something new.
Nice. So you're open to it.
Yeah.
So do they must be getting fascinated. Oh, we can tell our mom and she's not like, I know that.
Yeah. It's hilarious. They know... They've known for years that I'm bad at technology, for example. So I will ask them, and that's okay.
So that's good that you have a relationship where you can be like, as I would say, vulnerable or something like in technology or any other thing, that they're not like, oh, our mom is so perfect. She never needs us in any form or shape. The way it used to be traditionally also.
Absolutely.
Like, we don't want to express we are sick. The traditionally, I know from the subcontinent culture, you don't want to tell your children you're sick. You are just so proper and perfect all the time. You're emotionally and all that. So it used to be
I think it's important to, as a parent, I think it's important to tell the child, we're going to make this work. I'm in control. It's okay. But that doesn't mean you can't have a problem. You might be sad, but overall, we're going to be fine.
Good. Thank you for all these answers. Do you believe in punishing or disciplining children?
Yes, I think it's necessary to sometimes to do that.
What is
never with violence.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. What is your method of disciplining?
That is, but more, for example, saying that's it. If you need to punish, it would be rather removing something that they would like to do. If it's watching TV or something like this, or but most of all, disciplining in the sense of saying, you do not do that. That is wrong, and I know that, and I'm telling you. And
so, do you have to loudly say that? Do you have to yell doing that, or do you, kind of negotiate? Do you negotiate with them in that?
I guess I'm the type which negotiate, and stay calm until I explode. Oh. That's me. Okay. That's when the Darth Vader voice comes up. While my husband is much more calm and collected, and he was the one who used the naughty step, for example, and saying, you have to sit here for 2 minutes now because you've been naughty. And I was never very good with that because it doesn't come naturally to me. But I've done it maybe 3 times, and that's when I reacted with my spine, and that was good. Then it worked.
It worked. Okay. How do you show your approval to your children? Like, how do you help them with this type of situation? Do you make sure that if you have disciplined them in some way, do you worry about that it will linger with them, the feeling of your authoritarian style or something that you yelled at, or do you ever think about that?
Oh, I say sorry.
Do you? Oh, okay.
And that might not...
And how do they react to that? What do they come? Do they come to you? Do you go to them, hug them, say sorry, or is there any...
Yeah, both. I can be... I don't want to just say sorry and that's all fine, because I know that saying sorry afterwards doesn't make it better necessarily. But I want to be able to say, for example, sorry, I yelled at you. I shouldn't have done that. or make you scared, even if that was a loud yell or something like that. But at the same time, I want to explain to them why it came to that. I was so angry that you didn't obey me over and over again when I had asked you to do whatever it was.
So how do they react to it? Can you give me an example? That what do they say then? Do they ever say anything? Do they just stay quiet? Or any of the 3 kids you have?
I think they have given all sorts of responses. Either they have said, "It's okay, Mom." Okay. You know, when particularly when now that they are older and they can understand, they say sorry themselves. Or they hug me back.
Oh, nice.
Or I guess there must have been times that they have been just shrugging their shoulders as well.
That's nice. That's nice. Okay. How do you spend time with your children?
A lot is kind of them playing in the kitchen or the living room or somewhere while I'm just preparing food, picking up socks and etc. So there's lots of not sitting down and spending time. But when we do sit down and spend time together, we love playing games. We play cards or other games, or we read. I love to draw with them.
Do you read at bedtime, or do you read when one's
both? Okay. Mostly bedtime, but now with our little Flora, it's tricky to do all 3 of them at the same time. But when I get the chance to read at bedtime, I love it, and I love to play and sing with them. They don't like to do that with me as much as I would like to, but yeah, or they go to the park or
you do that
outings.
Do you listen to them?
I want to believe that I listen to them. Yes, I think. I mean, I ask them, of course, every day about school, how things have been, and I can, particularly if they seem to be in a bad mood, I definitely ask what it is, and I want to know, and I want to listen. And they come and say if there is anything in particular they want to talk about.
So do you differentiate between hearing and listening deeply?
Yes, absolutely. It's very easy to just throw out a question and then not particularly listen to the answer. And it requires more to listen.
More attention.
Yeah, more attention and sit down properly together and give it.
How do you do it physically? Tell me. Do you sit down and look at them, or like how do you do it? Or while you are doing something, that's how you listen?
That's a good question. I would guess try to sit down and be with them alone a bit more face to face.
Something more serious.
On something. But having said that, I guess I could try different strategies, such as doing something while you're painting, cutting, talking at the same time. Might be.
Are there any selfish motives in parenting?
I'm sure there's lots. I think we are.
Can you give any examples? Like, why would you? That's why I was asking. Like, why do you want it to become a parent? Like, I know you don't want them to earn and bring money for you at 10, 8, and 3, but you know.
Oh, right.
That's one way.
Oh, I think deeply down, it's an existential question over seeing life as some kind of parts of a chain, your heritage moving forward, not being alone when you're old. It's a status. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's what I was going to come to. Is it like society requires us
to... yes. Yeah. I know I've got friends who don't have children and they get the questions all the time why they don't have children. So I think that consciously or subconsciously there's lots of egocentrical motives
for having children. How can we teach our children to be responsible and respect others? How do you do that?
How do I do that? Well, the reality is, of course, that we teach them this by being respectful and responsible ourselves. And
now this is a politically correct answer. So.
Yeah, and that's where the shoe hurts, right? For everybody, because how do I do that?
Yeah.
So that's what I try to remember, to talk in a positive way of others, to assume good things about others, and take responsibility for my own actions. And that's a tough one, because I can also see how we are flying back to Europe the whole time, and I'm thinking of ecological footprints and so on. We're living in a big house that we don't need. Why do we do that? But in other ways, I'm trying to say, we'll now put the sun panels up, at least. That is, trying to
solar
do our best.
panels, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Or teaching the
Sun
kids,
panels.
how to recycle, how to reuse, to not
I'm going to come to
waste
that.
things.
So you can answer now. That do you teach your children to be, more environmentally conscious?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So you're doing that
while being, I don't want to pride myself too much, because by consumption, by our very lives, we are not environmental, but in the as many ways as I can do in my daily life, at least I do it myself, and I want to teach them to not waste and so on.
So, do you believe that children are you are a source for your children, like, or are you they come through you, or do you believe that you own them?
No, I think I've given birth to them. I'm very thankful for that, and I can borrow them. For some time. They are not mine. They are
their own.
They are their own.
You think so?
That's exciting.
Yeah, which is good. In a way, depends how you look at it.
Yeah.
Good. Do you believe that intelligence is enough to think?
No, I would say.
Because I'm sure your children are intelligent.
Oh, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Okay.
Yeah, I think they are, but
like what I'm trying to come to is like, so you have been in your profession, in your teaching, whether even musically, you're teaching a music teacher. Do you think that we teach how to think in our schools, like when you were growing up, or do you see that your children are learning how to think in schools or in an environment, or do you teach them, like, how do we come to this? Do we learn how to think, even we are intelligent or smart, but I have learned my own lesson that is it equal, like in being intelligent is enough that you're a good thinker, or do you have to learn to think?
That is a very interesting question. I guess we start thinking as soon as we are born. But then the word intelligence is a bit problematic to me. It tends to, when I think of the word intelligence, I think of a whole lot of facts, knowing how A is affected by B, etc., or knowing what the capital of such country is, or how to a whole lot of facts. And clearly that is not enough in life. That is not enough in terms of relationship, etc. You need to be using all your senses and emotions and so on. So, and I guess traditionally, and maybe still so, that old way of interpreting intelligence as being about knowing a whole lot of facts and so on is not enough.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jenny. Thank you so much. It was wonderful. Thank you for staying with me through this exciting episode. Please don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for the next episode of Light Up with Shwa.